Development Bank, and has a project in Uzbekistan.
Can you hear me?
Okay, he joined us. Mm-hmm. Oh, EBRD, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Anwar?
Yep.
We should be able to see you very shortly soon. Yeah, now we can see you. Thank you. Sorry, from EBRD.
Yeah, that's a correction. European Bank for Development, for Reconstruction and Development, not the Asian Development Bank. Can I share my screen?
Anwar, we can see you well. Thank you.
Okay, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, right.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me to present this. This presentation is going to be about EBRD's Green Cities program, and I'll tell you what is this about and what we are doing, in particularly in Uzbekistan, in Samarkand, where we are currently developing this project. Just the first few words that why cities matter because you know the 55% of the world population currently live in cities, and this is expected to rise even more. Cities will contribute to a majority of greenhouse gas emissions, around 70%, and they're consuming 75% of energy, but at the same time, they only take up 1% of the land. And that's why the huge significance that the cities are playing in terms of reducing the greenhouse gas emissions and meeting the Paris climate goals. So EBRD has been very active in terms of bringing its environmental agenda into its countries of operations. Since 2015, we have adopted the green economy transition approach, which aimed to have green projects to represent 40% of the bank's investments by 2020. Then in 2020, the EBRD board of directors have adopted another strategy which mandated to even bring the more ambitious approach and the higher targets, which was to get up to 50% of the bank's annual investment to make it green by 2025. And the strategy was called GET 2.1. And already at the forefront of the climate and environmental action, in 2021, EBRD has shifted into a higher gear in its response to climate change. So the board of directors again adopted a resolution to raise the EBRD's climate ambition by ensuring that all its activities are in line with the Paris Agreement by December 2022. So from January 1st of this year, we've been fully Paris aligned, and all our projects have to either contribute towards meeting the Paris objectives or not to contradict to it. So about the green cities, it's EBRD's Green Cities program offers a systemic approach to identifying and investing in municipal infrastructure, first of all, that targets improvements and addresses the climate change and environmental challenges within the cities. So the program draws on best practices approaches that linking strategic green city planning to investments. So EBRD introduces cities in the cities that EBRD is working in its countries of operation. It introduces the systemic approach to tackling the urban planning, and introduces the innovation in order to link strategic urban planning to investments, and then introduces a planning process that emphasizes the engagement with civil society and other active players within the city. And then it focuses on converting urban planning instruments into financed investments. So in a way, Green Cities program of EBRD has four main components. The first one is about delivering the strategy and policy support, which takes place through the Green City Action Plan that we developed together with the city. This is the program's main tool and key innovation. The second is the facilitating and stimulating the green city infrastructure investments, particularly in the sector of urban transport, water and wastewater, district heating, energy, building energy efficiency or solid waste, renewable energy, and climate resilience. The third aspect is the capacity building, which comes in a technical assistance and support the city administration, local stakeholders, in order to successfully implement the proposed investments within the Green City program. And the fourth one is related to supporting the access to green finance, which we support our clients and the cities to develop required frameworks and attract the green financing through various channels. So this is how it started back in 2016 with three pioneering cities, Tirana, Tbilisi, and Yerevan. And this is what we have today, 60 cities around this map in the countries of operations, a number of green city action plans are currently being adopted. I think it's around 24 have been adopted already, and the rest are in either completion or development or planning phases. So far, the results of the Green City program has been quite significant. So we have invested in sustainable infrastructure in the amount of 2.6 billion euros, and the whole framework mobilized both EBRD and donor financing in the amount of 5 billion euros. And so far, we have reduced more than 4 million tons of CO2 equivalent in the cities that we have worked with. That is equivalent to more than 1 million cars being taken out of the roads within these cities, and the benefit was extended to 76 million citizens within the cities. So the whole program is it's a systemic approach to investment, as I was saying earlier, and I just wanted to mention that there are three main phases of this approach. So the Green City Action Plan is the program's key tool and is developed by cities with support from EBRD and the consultants that we procure, and the consultants are paid through donor support that we provide, that we work with a dedicated donor community. And this Green City Action Plan, that abbreviation we say GCAPS. So we seek to involve a wide array of stakeholders in the development phase beyond the city administration. So and beyond EBRD and the consultants team, we include civil society, we include local businesses, and we include other international organizations and public actors. So within its phases, the first two is about developing the plan itself, and the third phase is about implementing the plan. First, when we are developing the plan, we ask the question, we start with asking the question, how we are doing in the city in relation to its environmental performance. And that's the first step. And we start developing the baseline in terms of understanding what is the current status, what is the current state of environment. Then we start mapping the environmental performance and current challenges based on benchmark of environmental indicators, which covers comprehensive assessment of urban issues. And these issues, then these challenges, and then we benchmark the results, and these results are then consulted with a wide range of local stakeholders, and then we identify priority environmental challenges. So these challenges are prioritized. Then the GCAP asks the question, what do we want to do about it? What do we want to do about these challenges? And by developing specific investment and policy actions to address a city's most pressing challenges that we have identified. So based on these agreed priorities, the city then establishes a long-term vision and a medium-term target for green city development. And then the city establishes short-term actions that the city can take to address their priority challenges. And that includes list of indicative investments and policy responses. And then after that, the city moves to implementation phase and undertakes the infrastructure investments and measures as they have been outlined within the GCAP process. And then if the city is interested, EBRD can support them in these efforts, both on the investments and the policy side. And then to track the progress of the GCAP in achieving its targets, and cities will also regularly evaluate the effectiveness of its measures and reports the results in the context of environmental improvement and benchmarks that we originally provided. So the investments normally take place in the following, in the sectors that that I have mentioned earlier, and the one of the key ones is solid waste, water, wastewater, transport, district heating, and build energy efficiency in buildings. But also increasingly we are working with areas such as climate resilience and nature-based solutions. Through this process, these environmental benefits that the GCAP addresses, it also helps to demonstrate the city's commitment to becoming green to a wider audience, and it can do so by doing public outreach. And also, in addition to that, we provide our assistance to cities, as I mentioned, to access the finance, and the GCAP facilitates these discussions between cities and potential external financiers. So that's the main process. And one of the key areas about the GCAP is that it has a comprehensive approach. it brings in not only the needed infrastructure investments, it's also a very inclusive process. It brings gender inclusion, smart technologies. Private sector is one of the key areas that it will have that the GCAP addresses the involvement of the private sector. And what the six tools that mentioned here, these are all about the comprehensive approach within the Green City program. So this is one of the examples how Green City promotes gender equality and digitalization. And these areas are amongst the key vectors to implement EBRD's digital approach. For example, smart digital have been one of the integral parts of the methodology, and it helps to identify projects. It helps to build capacities to foster digital transition within the cities. So at the governance level, cities conduct now a smart maturity assessment to evaluate where they stand on their digitalization journey and what are the next steps to foster an open source data environment that will enable both the private and public sector to implement digital solutions for smarter and greener and more inclusive urban services. Just to mention that while we've been working with Samarkand on developing this Green City Action Plan, we have faced a tremendous challenge of gathering data and information. Although this data information may exist within various bodies of governance in the Samarkand region, but the access and finding this data, finding the right people who hold this data, it has been a big challenge, and it took us more than 2 or 3 times more time invested into the process than it usually takes in other cities. So this brings us to a point that digitalization and open access to data is a very important factor to develop Green City action plans. And at the project level, these smart solutions then systematically integrated and built in to be smart ready and benefit the future digital enhancements within the GCAP process. I wanted to, since the Samarkand GCAP is still in the process, maybe I can give you a couple of examples from other cities that we have worked with within the EBRD's countries of operation. The first one is Amman that I want to mention. The GCAP in Amman has enabled an approach to climate response from the city, allowing departments and partners to come together to determine their priorities. So this has been supplemented by a public engagement component that has provided input from the public on their understanding of what green is within the city, and the use of tools and knowledge how to engage with them in the future. So the Amman has joined the GCAP back in 2018 and developed the GCAP and completed it by 2000 and fully adopted it by 2021. So the Amman is already in the implementation phase. They have identified their environmental priority challenges, and among them was poor air quality, lack of sufficient green and open space, lack of waste infrastructure capacity, and water scarcity. In terms of stakeholder engagement, with extensive public engagement activities, over 76,000 stakeholders from all over the city have been engaged in the GCAP process. And most people have been reached with an online awareness raising campaign. Around 40,000 people were reached. Aman, the campaign was called Aman in Green, and with case studies sharing ideas and success stories, engaging questions and articles about key topics. So Aman citizens had the opportunity to express their opinion about what's their green future would look like. Then, in terms of donor coordination group, as part of the GCAP, EBRD pioneered the donor coordination, which was a vital for city that has a substantial number of partners that very often overlap in their activities. And this has facilitated EBRD's participation in wider discussion with partners that have crossed the development and humanitarian nexus. Then the projects that were involved in rehabilitation of existing contaminated lagoon through the construction of stormwater drainage infrastructure, and that was one of the key projects that was prioritized and developed within the one of the main rivers in the city that passes through the city. And another area that they prioritized was solid waste response, which was a response to crisis, basically, that urgently needed solid waste investment, and which included the purchase of specialized solid waste equipment and the establishment of a maintenance workshop. Another key area was electric buses in Amman that was financed and purchased 15 electric buses in Jordan under the pilot project to roll out then electric buses in the city of Amman. So this is example from Jordan, and another example is Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. The population of this city is slightly over 1 million people. This is number 12 city within Green Cities program of EBRD. But it was also one of the first cities that has approved its GCAP in 2019. And since then, the city has started preparation and implementation of about around half of the measures that the EBRD and other IFI donors went ahead and supported throughout that were identified in the GCAP process. One of the priority challenges that the Ulaanbaatar identified was the air pollution caused by low energy performance of buildings, low efficient heating systems, and inefficient transportation. Another environmental challenge that the Ulaanbaatar identified was a poor surface water quality and the high climate change impact and scarce green spaces. The process followed the same, basically was the same process, engagement with stakeholders and workshops and reaching out through online media to citizens. And one of the key areas that, one of the key projects that the city implemented based on the GCAP was the solid waste project and a district heating project. At the moment, we are, I don't know, do you still hear me?
Online, yes.
Because I received the message there is a technical problem. they cannot hear me for some reason. Hello, can you hear me now? Seems to be no, not yet.
Вы можете продолжать.
Can you hear me in the room?
Когда вы говорите, было слышно.
Ну, это в Zoom вы имеете в виду, правильно?
Yeah, I think so as well. Enrique, if you can hear us, we would like to come back to you right after we fix the technical issues that we encountered.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, now we can hear you well as well.
Okay.
Could you finish?
Yeah, I was already at the end. I was at the end of my presentation, so I provided examples of green cities from that we developed from two different places. One was Amman in Jordan, and the second one was Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. Just to give you a taste about the process and when were these green city programs were established, and what kind of projects were examples of investment projects that were part of the implementation of the Green Cities program. Currently, we're in Samarkand, and we have kicked off this project in around April of this year. As you have seen, the process takes 12 months to develop the full GCAP. And as mentioned, due to the difficulties in gaining access to data and information, it might take us a bit longer, but we are aiming to complete the full GCAP development by April of 2024. One of the key conditions for cities becoming a green city, EBRD Green Cities program, is to have a trigger project. The trigger project, basically, it's an investment project that triggers the entrance into the program, and based on which then we start developing the Green City Action Plan process. In Samarkand, the trigger project has been acquisition of electric buses. We have signed a loan agreement with the authorities in Samarkand for acquisition of 100 buses, and that included also construction of electric bus depot infrastructure. All of this will help improve public transportation services and address air quality, improve air quality within the city. At the moment, we have identified environmental challenges in Samarkand, and we are in the process of prioritization of these environmental challenges. And once the prioritization will be completed, we'll start developing actions, the long list of actions, and then it will be a short list of actions. So we are right in the middle of the process, and once we're ready with the full GCAP by next year in April, after its successful adoption, we'll start the implementation phase. I think I will stop here. Happy to answer your questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much. This was our specialist and special guest, Anvar Nasreddin from EBRD Uzbekistan, presenting Green Cities program, which is very exciting to see that how from 3 pilot cities you grow up to 60 cities over the world with excellent objectives like innovation, bringing innovations to the green to make cities greener, to build the capacities of the cities, and the amount you mobilized, very impressive, up to $5 billion US, and it's very good example of the project that we would like to see more in our countries in the Central Asian region. I think we would like to continue with the questions to our guests right after the second presentation that will be present by Mr. Begzod Jalilov, the Senior Economist Officer from Asian Development Bank, and I would like to ask him to come to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, for the invitation, I would like to appreciate on behalf of ADB to the Ministry of Uzbekistan and our colleagues from the region for inviting me to make one humble presentation about our projects in the country. Before they taking some time to arrange the slides, I would like to provide you some brief information about the scale of our investments in Uzbekistan, specifically in terms of greening the urban development, and also the cities and the regional development programs and master plans of Uzbekistan. So ADB, Asian Development Bank, is the largest development partner and IFI in the country, with the portfolio of roughly at the moment we have 26 projects amounting to $5.2 billion. So since basically since 1996 we invested around $11 billion, and now our agenda is to have either climate change mitigation or adaptation measures and climate finance components in virtually 100% of our portfolio projects. Okay, so our approach to investments of a climate finance in our projects, specifically in the urban development projects, is we do some knowledge work or diagnostic study to see and scope the size and also the sites and cities of the projects of the project investments. So in this regard, what we did was for Uzbekistan, we came up with an assessment report. It's available online. Please, when you have a chance and interest, just download it. In this, it's called Harnessing Uzbekistan's Potential of Urbanization. So basically, in here, we just highlighted the key areas of urban development, including the need for so-called livability or sustainability of the cities in Uzbekistan. First of all, let me just briefly explain the current situation with the urban development in the country. Since Uzbekistan got independence, urbanization, the whole level of urbanization in the country has been lagging. leading to some so-called significant regional imbalances. That means there's a great deal of need to cut the disparities in terms of regional development and to make it more or less equal to the urban areas. The current urbanization, roughly half of population of 37 million people, they reside in urban areas. And we know that from the government policies, the target is by 2030 to reach this level to 60%, which is very ambitious, given that there's annual growth of population at 2% in the country. In terms of urban sector, urban governance is highly centralized, and that requires municipalities to have more certain mandates and resources to mobilize to develop their cities. About 70% of so-called regional government revenues is from central government transfers. Basically, Minister of Finance or the state budget from the central resources, they mobilize or they subsidize the development of cities in the provinces. Housing and urban infrastructure have been services quality have been declining for the last since independence, and they do not provide much sufficient livability, or the quality is not adequate. And then there's a huge demand from the public to improve the quality of urban services. There is another challenge, which is called environmental degradation, natural hazards, and of course the adverse impact of climate change. Those risks are expanding year by year, and this is mounting the pressure on their urban services and also urban infrastructure in the cities of Uzbekistan. In terms of policy, so policy orientation is to boost the urbanization and urban development in the country. That entails certain reforms and investments. However, we see there's a room to improve the institutional capacity of our ministries. So the one way would be from the IFI side or from international financial institutions, we can boost up the so-called policy dialogue or capacity development grant resources, along with the loan investments to the country. Once again, as a multilateral financial institution, ADB stands by Uzbek government in coming up more robust and green urban development plans, and also implementation with the investment projects. And so directing future urbanization, our assessment indicates that the urbanization level or concentration is mostly on Tashkent. And then we have some cities like Samarkand, Namangan, and others that are trying to expand their urbanization. However, the Tashkent city, still remains absorbing about 15% of the urban population. So what should we do? We should support the municipal development, i.e. the capacity of the local governments to come up first to green and sustainable master plans of developing their regions, including their cities. Second, we should help reforming the urban planning. So the whole approach of urban planning needs to be changed. It should take into account the forthcoming risks from climate change, and also the whole institutional setup in terms of developing master plans, and starting from the basic infrastructure all the way to the so-called downtowns or business hubs. Today, the trend is called cities. So Samarkand city, Namangan city. So you see all those downtowns emerging in the country, but that requires more comprehensive master planning. And also, we should make sure that there's a sustainable and green territorial mobility that enables people to be mobilized. For example, people from Tashkent, they have to be able to easily move to Samarkand to do their business, and the vice versa should be also be available. So in this regard, from the climate perspective or green perspective, we Asian Development Banks, we invest about $500 million for the next 3 years to boost the electrification of railways. Because through the electrification, first, we reduce the cost of transportation. Second, we increase the mitigation of CO2 emission within the sector. And then third, we provide mobility in line with urban development, that urban development approach that we are advocating to the government of Uzbekistan. And also, there's a need to increase urban housing or green housing and infrastructure supply. And the number one issue in the country is to have full access to drinkable water. And due to the climate change, we know that most probably by 2040, the resources for water supply network, i.e. drinkable water, can be reduced by 20 or 25%. So that requires a huge investment. We're talking about at least $3 or $4 billion for the next 10 years to upgrade the network of, or centralized network of drinking water in urban areas in Uzbekistan. And also there's a huge trend in terms of environmental degradation and climate change. That is basically the climate. We know that in the country, and especially in Tashkent and Samarkand and all those urban centers of Uzbekistan, for the last 2 or 3 years, they have been experiencing first the outages of water supply because of climate change, and also the prolonged days of heat waves, especially in summer. So that is mounting the pressure on energy or electricity network. And this is, in some cases, we saw some collapses of the whole system. So to avoid this, of course, all the projects in energy and transport, in water supply and sanitation, we have to incorporate climate change and then come up with some adaptation measures already in our investment projects. And also to make sure that Uzbek cities are more competitive and green, resilient, and inclusive, we have to make sure that the cities are not so expensive and they're livable for all stratas of population. So inclusivity is important alongside with the sustainability or greening of urban areas of the country. There are multiple opportunities for IFI's investments, including ADB. So just to wrap up, the main conclusion would be directing future urbanization toward more balanced regional growth, i.e. we should not have a huge disparities between rural areas and urban areas, and also between the provinces. So that means we have to reinforce so-called the secondary cities in the region in terms of green or sustainable development. And also we should be more proactive in terms of urbanization through more strategic and well-coordinated efforts. And today we come up, ADB, we come up with the notion of integrated urban development. And we have already committed $60 million with this approach to Uzbekistan, focusing on Khiva, Hazar, and then 2 more, Jizakh, and then one more city in Uzbekistan. And also we should focus making our cities more livable. That also includes, besides the affordability of houses, we should make sure that the transport infrastructure or urban infrastructure needs to be compatible with the growing demand for just basic transport modes by people. For example, bicycle paths that needs to be there. And also in Tashkent, for example, if I want to walk it's extremely difficult to walk because somehow we tend to prioritize cars over people. So in other words, when we do master planning and also invest billions of dollars in developing urban services in the country, we should make sure that the whole city that the project will cover will have such, let's say, tiny elements, but very important in terms of impacting on sustainability of the city and the livability of the city for the population. So once again, with this report, we call everyone to be more strategic in investment planning. Please do not waste your investments, dollars and coins. Make sure that in each project, we should have at least one or two components addressing the sustainability, addressing the mitigation or adaptation measures to climate change. With this, I would like to thank you once again for the invitation and having me to highlight those key strategic areas in green development of cities. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Bigzadake. And if we could have people who are online on the screen, that would be really helpful, because I would like to open the floor also for the round of the questions, if the people on the audience have, and for the people who are online attending. So yeah.
I was wondering if you could explain a bit what kind of including gender inclusive approaches into city management, what that actually looks like, and if maybe you could give an example from some of the work that EBRD has done in maybe Ulaanbaatar on the ways that gender has been integrated into that city planning. I'm curious. Thank you. I hope you heard that.
Yeah, I heard the last part of the question. This is about how EBRD integrates gender.
Did you hear my question?
Yes, I think I did.
No, maybe not.
Yeah. Let me repeat. If I understood correctly.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Your question was how EBRD integrates gender into Green Cities action planning. Is this correct?
Yes. And I was curious if there's a kind of practical example that could help me understand that. Thank you.
Maybe in terms of practical example, I don't have the full overview of all Green Cities programs that EBRD does. I don't know if my colleague from EBRD is in the room. If she was supposed to attend, if she had time, she could give more overview on that. But in general, what we've been doing at the moment in Samarkand, when we engaging with the public, when we are asking the public to identify environmental challenges and prioritize them, we do the gender segregation, and we try to focus on what are the problems that are based on gender, what are the environmental problems that gender-based groups are identifying, and then we try to design the responses similar according to gender-based identification. So that's one of the examples. But in general, what we do is there's a gender specialist that comes in and prepares gender-based solutions that helps us to prepare such solutions, and we integrate them into action planning. Unfortunately, I will not be able to give you a specific example that we did in Ulaanbaatar or in Amman, but in other cities, because the program is being managed by different people. So I've been only in Samarkand so far, and so this is the extent of my experience at the moment.
Thank you very much, Anvarake. I also had a question. Well, if someone from the audience, or we have question online. Okay. Can you give we have Mary Ann raised hands from the GIZ. Please.
Thank you very much, and thank you also to the speakers for their presentations. I have one question each. To EBRD, would you have maybe an overview of the repartition of the investments? Because you gave an overall number, but I would be very interested in having a closer look on the size of the projects and sectors where there are investments, and ideally also which are the financiers who are involved. I think sometimes you mentioned the GCF, but I don't know if there are some other financiers, and if you have some kind of statistics on the actual realization of the projects. That's for EBRD. And to ADB, you didn't really talk about it, but I was wondering at the city level and the urbanization and the policies, we are working on energy saving in buildings, and I'm trying to understand how it could be, because if I understand clearly, if the municipalities save energy in their administrative buildings, the money that they save, it will be cut from their budget, from the central government. And I was wondering if there is any incentive or at the central government level for the cities to keep this money and reuse it in green projects. Thank you.
Yes. Just checking, Anvar, did you hear the question? It was quite hard to hear on our end.
No, I was I heard the question. Yes, thank you.
So maybe you can go first, and then we can turn to Vixod here.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of the project, like overview of partitioning of projects, maybe just to give you a bit of understanding, like the projects tend to be around a lot of the infrastructure needs of the city that is currently either polluting the environment or putting a pressure on the state of the environment. For example, when we talk about air pollution, we tend to do urban transport projects because the transportation sector is one of the major sources of air pollution, and projects like electric buses could be from anywhere, as small as around 4 million euros investment needs, all the way to 100 million euros investments, depending on the size of the city, depending on the size of the problem and the infrastructure state of the infrastructure and the requirements. Another example, like solid waste projects. For example, in Ulaanbaatar, we had one solid waste project, which the investment size was 8.3 million euros, while in other projects in solid waste in city of Lviv in Ukraine, it was a 20 million euro investment. So again, depending on the city and depending on the size of the challenge. If you go to other extreme, like climate resilience, for example, climate resilience tend to be smaller projects, and sometimes it's more difficult to get them agreed with the authorities. But the places where we had climate resilience projects was one of them is the example I mentioned in Amman in Jordan, which was about remediation of a lagoon, and that investment was around 5 million euros. Overall, I would say around maybe 50% or maybe more than 50% of investments within the Green Cities program go to urban transport sector. And then the next biggest sector is the district heating. And then it follows by solid waste and then the energy infrastructure. So these are the biggest sectors that we invest in. And the financiers we attract, GCF is part of the Green Cities facility that we work with. We had 9 cities that have joined the GCF facility. The GCF provides concessional financing, in grants and technical assistance financing. And now we're expanding that facility to more cities to include up to, I think it's going to be 15 cities. So the GCF facility itself is smaller than the Green Cities program at the moment. But the donor community is actually very big, that provides a lot of technical assistance. And among the key donors, we also have climate investment funds. We have bilaterals like the government of Austria, the Sweden, European Union, and Japan and South Korea. These are among key bilaterals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Enrique, for such a comprehensive answer. So the next round is to Vixike. It's up to you.
Maria, thank you very much for very interesting question regarding the energy efficiency incentives, right? As far as I understood the question. So, well, first of all, it's a challenging question and difficult to answer, right? However, I will try. So from the IFI perspective, from ADB perspective, what we do is we prioritize the production and adoption of technologies that would save energy. By mostly, unfortunately, we focus on state-owned enterprises in Uzbekistan because state-owned enterprises are the major players or major CO2 emitters in the country. However, at the what we're calling now is, and also trying to mobilize our resources into a project, is to change the behavior of the households. So this behavioral change is compatible with the government's policy in coming up with so-called differentiated pricing for energy in the country. So that means what? That means, like, let's say from October and also November, there was a couple of presidential resolutions setting the tariffs in such a way that as a household, if you consume beyond certain threshold, then your cost for energy gets either doubled or tripled, depending on the volume of energy that you consume within your house, right? This is one, it's a good, through the pricing mechanism, the government is trying to change the behavior of people so that they become more energy efficient. However, what we're working with the GIZ colleagues, Maria, so GIZ has a green industrialization project. So actually, a couple of days ago, they committed $9 million grant, pure grant, to support this green industrialization in Uzbekistan. From ADB side, we're coming with green industrial policy. That's a bit different from industrialization. So within this green industrial policy, we will focus on, once again, this behavioral changes of the households and also the firms. So one example would be, if we will push the government to create an enabling environment for the firms to adopt or invest more in solar, so that a certain portion of the energy will be saved in their production line. That will, of course, it will make a lot of energy available for the households, right? However, from the household side, we consider household as a demand for the products or goods and services that the economy produces, green economy will produce in near future in Uzbekistan. So from that demand side, what we can do is compatible with it, once again, with the government energy policy or tariff policy. We should further, try to, let's say, provide fiscal space, liquidity to the state budget so that they can introduce subsidies to purchase energy efficient technologies by the households. This is very powerful kind of policy to change the behavior and then to promote green technologies or energy efficient technologies. And also
sorry.
there's one, sorry. Yeah,
I'm
please.
sorry, that was not exactly the sense of my question. I was not talking about households. I was talking really about the municipalities' buildings, where they are not, the municipalities themselves, the local governments are not incentivized to reduce energy consumption, because if they do so, the money that they save will be cut from their budget by the central government. And I was trying to understand if there is some will from the government to change the budget code, basically, that the municipalities would be able to keep the money that they save and to reinvest in other green projects. I was not talking so much about the household of industry, but really the municipalities. You cannot hear us.
Mary, it was difficult to hear you. I think the question was, how about the municipalities, right? How, what are their incentives so that they can mobilize their resources for energy efficient projects?
Not really, but it's okay. Maybe if there is a problem of sound, happy to meet you when you are back in Uzbekistan, and maybe we can discuss it further, because I don't want to use the time of the audience.
Yeah, the last point that I was driving, probably that answers to your question. So currently what we're doing is we're trying to scope those municipalities, their buildings and etc. in Samarkand and other, like in Namangan and other cities, trying to look at to what extent the municipalities will be incentivized to retrofit those buildings so that those buildings or real estates, they save some energy. And we're talking about at least $1 billion for the next 5 years in this area. Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Thank you very much for the answer, Anvarake, Bigzadike. If you allow me, I had like 3 questions to both of our speakers. First one is, how fast is possible to mobilize funds? The second one, how long it takes to review the project? And the third one is, how do the projects align with the country, like with the agenda of the country and its commitment to the Paris Agreement and, to the reports that we need to provide to UNFCCC? Thank you. Anvarake, I think we can start with you and then Bigzadike next. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for the question. I think I'll start with the last one first, how well the projects are aligned with the Paris objectives. As I mentioned, EBRD's strategy is fully aligned with the Paris Agreement. That means all our projects have to either contribute towards meeting the Paris objectives or not to contradict to it since January 1 of 2023. That's the first thing. The second thing is this Green Cities program, the approach itself in preparation of the baseline assessment, when we're identifying the challenges, environmental challenges, we not only look at the wide array of aspects like gender or economic inclusion or smart maturity, risk and vulnerability, but we also look at NDCs. We look at the commitments that the government has taken, and we try to fit into the framework that the government has so far put in place, so that we don't duplicate, we don't contradict, but we try to enable the process by being additional within the government political and legal environment. So that's on the alignment. On the projects, how long does it take to prepare a project? So if we're talking about an investment project, that's one issue. If you're talking about preparing a green cities program, it's another process. The green cities program, the process takes to prepare 12 months. But before starting the process, we require to have a trigger project. And the trigger project can be any municipal project that addresses any environmental challenge. Like in the case of Samarkand, this was electric buses project that addresses the air pollution issue. And that project, normally it's projects like this take anywhere from 6 months up to 12 months from initiation stage up to signing and dispersing the loan. And then once the project is approved, the Green Cities program, the process will kick off, and then that 12 months later we have a Green City Action Plan that the city adopts, and the projects, on average, the number of investment projects are around 15 to 20, and the policy related measures are around 10. So we have not more than 25 to 30 measures included in the action plan, and the implementation phase is 5 years.
Thank you for your answer. It was very comprehensive. Bigstuke, your turn.
Yeah, from ADB side, usually it takes 1 year. So because we have a requirement, so whenever there's a loan agreement committed or signed, that means, you know, the charge starts. You know, there is certain costs for the government, and to ensure that there's no extra cost, you know, mounting, right? So we come up with a more detailed design of any project. So for that, we mobilize some grant resources. It's called Transaction TA, to prepare a larger loan project. So, and within this, using this, you know, grant project, it takes about 10 months or so to come up with some detailed design, and then a couple of months to already to take the advanced actions for the procurement contracts. So and then let's say, you know, if we start in January, by October, so we will know more or less, you know, the contractor with a detailed design. And so that, let's say in December, so we can sign off the loan agreement. And right after the signing off, you know, the project becomes effective with the government resolution. And from January onwards, we can already implement the project. That's our approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And what about the question on UNFCCC reporting? How does the reports of ADB, for example, contribute to the country reports to UNFCCC?
Yeah, everything should be compatible with the government's agenda. So in other words, first of all, we'll look at the NDC, or national targets under NDC to the Paris Agreement. And also government of Uzbekistan, actually together with EBRD and UNDP and World Bank, we advise them to come up with more robust roadmap under the Green Transition Strategy 2030. So all the reports and all the projects needs to be consistent with the national targets under the strategic document, right? So we have basically at the moment 2 documents. First, NDCs, actually 3. NDCs, Green Transition Roadmap, and third is SDG 13 and other SDGs national targets. Mm-hmm. So everything needs to be compatible with them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I think we have a little time left. So maybe for one last question from the audience or from those who are online, please. Okay, the ma'am from the audience.
Спасибо. Вот сейчас мы говорим о повестке для городов, но наши сейчас сельские районы, они просто смыкаются с городами, некоторые из них. А на селе сейчас стали строить 4-5-этажные дома, поэтому можно поставить знак равенства. Вот здесь как раз я хотела бы продолжить тему гендера. Значит, эти дома, которые финансируются, в том числе Азиатским банком развития, рядом банков международных, они строятся без балконов. Я не знаю, кто выбирал такой проект, не думаю вообще о женщинах. Значит, 4-5 этажей, в микрорайоне порядка 5-6 домов, и женщины должны сушить белье, спускаясь каждый раз с тазами на первый этаж. То же самое детей поднимают также, что люди не... причем дома строятся еще и без форточек. Вот у меня такая сейчас просьба к представителям вот банков, чтобы вы проверили эти проекты и думали больше о женщинах, которые таскают тазы туда-сюда. Вот. Ну и еще один вопрос, касающийся, конечно, канализации. Это проблема колоссальная для Ташкента, потому что сейчас никто не контролирует практически промышленные предприятия, которые сбрасывают, что хотят в канализацию, после чего плохо очищенные стоки сбрасываются в каналы, эти каналы попадают, например, в Сырдарью, дальше это течет по Казахстану. В общем, тут очень даже серьезные политические проблемы, и, наверное, надо более серьезное внимание уделять очистке сточных вод и в городе, и на селе, вот на таких комплексах.
If you let me to translate our, я просто переведу, хорошо? Я переведу нашим коллегам. If you let me translate. Okay, there is a translate. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can answer.
America, I will go ahead, and then
okay.
you can ask. Okay. Regarding the first part of the question, so there are two types of state programs, right? The first one is affordable rural housing in rural areas, right? And then second is urban housing program. So in terms of affordable rural housing program, we completed our ADB project already. And basically, when we're designing those affordable rural housing program and helping the government, we also, considered the climate change risks and also the adaptation measures, and also the woman gender was the priority for us. However, later on, the government came up with the urban development program that we're not involved. However, it does mean that women's let's say needs and the convenience of any housing projects needs to be compatible, or needs to support women's and also cut the burden on women in the household. So in this regard, what we're doing is we come up with another program. It's called Mortgage Market Development Program. And within this mortgage market development, we're trying to, first of all, to increase the ownership of houses or apartments by women. So that means since owner, if she's, what she can do is she can borrow money from the banks using our resources, commercial banks, and then she can choose whichever apartment or whichever house she wants to own, depending on her, the wishes in terms of, how the house is, designed with balcony or without balcony. So we give an option to the borrowers instead of, coming up ourselves and convincing the government to have a standardized design, right? So this is one way of addressing the women's interests in housing. But certainly, we keep pushing our client or our government, executive agency within our projects to prioritize the convenience for women, not only for women, but also for disabled population as well. And then actually we come up with a new approach for the next 5 years. We will be involving more civil society organizations on the ground, because right from the beginning of the designing of new projects, if we don't involve them, we will not know what exactly people would like to have from our billions of dollar investments, right? So that's I think that's an answer to the first question, and the second question, well, about the sewage system. Well, sewage system is it's our concern. what's happening is since I just highlighted that there's a huge need for water supply. So usually the centralized network of sewerage that requires first reliable and quality service of water supply, and we know that especially in rural areas, people are just don't have this centralized network of sewerage. Instead, they're using basically groundwater to absorb the pollutants, right? And also from the enterprises as well. We had a discussion with some firms in Namangan and other provinces. We know that what's going on in terms of polluting Sirdarya, basically, right? So the next step would be, as you have highlighted, we're going to have to make sure that those companies, enterprises, they have enough resources from the commercial banks so that they can introduce those technologies that would reduce or at least clean up those residuals from the production, be it dyeing or whatever, color or whatever chemicals, so that they will not just dump the waste, solid waste, into Sirdarya and other rivers or groundwater. That's a huge topic. To be practical, in reality, on the ground, it's extremely expensive to develop sewage system for the country and also for the provincial governments. So what we can do is, like, first we should make sure that the residuals or solid waste or wastewater gets cleaned up, and then if it's expensive and then the public finance is not enough, from ADB side, we're also mobilizing the private sector through so-called public-private partnership schemes. And in Namangan, we have a project, huge project on modernizing the Namangan wastewater treatment plant. So this is one example how we can boost up, at least try to come up with some partial solution to the problem that you have highlighted. Thank you very much.
Anwar Eke, if you could answer those questions. Yep.
My answer is very short. EBRD does not finance newly built housing projects.
Okay, thank you very much. But Anwar Eke, if we could ask, would you think about how could your projects contribute to the improvement of the infrastructures, like a sewer system, for example?
The canalization system is part of the response measures that we include in the Green Cities Action Planning, and that comes into the plan based on the identified challenges. If the challenge is identified and if it's gets prioritized based on the information and data and consultation process, then we provide such solutions. I mean, we include these measures, propose the measures into the Green City Action Plan, and if they are accepted and adopted by the municipality, then they can go ahead and receive support.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. I hope the audience and our guests, dear audience, our guests, thank you very much for participating in this session. I would like to wrap up today's session with saying that the Green Cities project and the work that's been done by ADB is really important for the region, for Uzbekistan particularly, and I appreciate all the changes that's being implemented in the country and the support you have for the communities and the cities. Thank you very much. Thank you for participating.